let's start off talking a bit about strikers. Exciting prospects, potentially. Well, it might not. I wouldn't say it's necessarily exciting for me, but certainly exciting for maybe some of you. As I said there, the Mirror are saying that Erik ten Hag is keeping tabs on Ajax striker Brian Brobby as Man United begin to plan their summer transfer window, which is absolutely accurate, of course. Manchester United are looking specifically at the summer transfer window now in relation to spending money. Another player I want to mention is Joshua Zirkzee. Fabrizio Romano was talking about him, I think it was last night. A few other people in Europe are talking about him. Arsenal have been linked, but apparently this is another striker that Manchester United would be interested in as well. And I've got to say, I find this one a lot more exciting than Brobby, if I'm being honest with you. If you're not aware about who Zirkzee is, he's currently at Bologna. As I understand it, and I'm sure there'll be some of you in the chat who know more about him than I do, I think he was at Bayern Munich. But he's doing reasonably well in Bologna at the moment, and certainly grabbing the attention of many Premier League sides, and would be somebody that Manchester United are very interested in. Look, I think this is really interesting. I was thinking about this yesterday. What are we going to do in the striker position? Because I'm very happy with Rasmus. I think he's a player that we can really, build around, and I'm convinced he's going to be a success. But we have got to bring another striker in. Now, what profile of striker do you want to bring? Do you want to bring in someone like a Brobby or a Zirkzee? Or do you want to bring in somebody who's a little bit more experienced? And if you're going to do that, all right, it's all right to say, let's get a bit of experience. But who is out there, and how much are you going to spend? And this is the thing with Manchester United. I think that loads of people talk about people like Osman and Kane, and I think that they are players that Man United should have been looking at. But where we are now, probably not going to happen. It's a lot of money. So what sort of a striker do you bring in? And I think when you look at Zirkzee at Bologna, and I mean, there are other names out there, of course, he'd be an interesting type of striker, but is he not very similar in a sense to what we already have with Rasmus? Zirkzee's a bit older. He's 22. From what I've seen of him, I think he's got that dribbling and defensive contribution, certainly. But again, I think it's... is he a little bit too similar to Rasmus? Without being similar, if you know what I mean. Age profile, type of player. And then what do you do with when you've got two strikers like that who are you're buying to be, in 2 or 3 years' time, the best or one of the best strikers in Europe? How do you balance that with a Zirkzee and a Højlund, or a Brobby and a Højlund? And I think that is the thing. We desperately do need another striker, but Rasmus is the one we've got to invest in for the future. So do you get another one to invest in for the future, and how do you balance that? On the other hand, I'm sure there'll be people in the chat saying, well, hold on a minute, look at how many games you play, look at how many minutes are played now. You can have a striker that comes off after 70 minutes, the other one comes on, he's playing for half an hour, and then you swap it around. So you can do that. There's injuries, there's loss of form as well. We definitely do need to bring another striker in. But you've got to be careful about how you balance it, I think. Let's go get João Pedro. I like his movement in attack, says T-Boss. Well, if you're talking about the one at Brighton, it's going to be very expensive. Exciting new targets that we will probably not get, says JS. Well, look, I get that. There's a lot of negativity around Manchester United at the moment. There's no doubt about that at all. And it's earned disappointment and negativity from what we've been like for the last few years. But there is this Ineos review. There is change happening. And I think the summer transfer window is what Manchester United are going to be targeting. And a lot of what you'd want in the summer is not going to be available right now. I certainly would guarantee you Bologna are not going to let Zirkzee go. I don't think Ajax are going to let Brobby go, and also Manchester United haven't got the money right now. So when we're talking about people like Scalvini and Zirkzee and Brobby and multiple other people, the lads in Portugal, what are they called? Neves, and there's another lad at the centre backs, and all these players. They're not players that we're going to get in January. They are going to be players that we get in the summer. And on the other hand, you've got, well, maybe we'll go Brexit, and maybe we'll go for Branthwaite and people like that. And nobody can Nobody can guarantee what we're going to do in the summer, but we can't just dismiss it and go, oh, well, yeah, we won't do it, because it's meant to be a new dawn. And until we hit August the 31st and review what that new dawn is, I agree. Cynics, you're better off being a cynic when it comes to Manchester United. Do I genuinely think... I was in London yesterday doing a presentation, and I was asked at the end, what do you think about Ineos? And I said, look, I like the principles of what they're going to do. We desperately need a strategic review. And I think anybody with any intelligence in that strategic review are going to highlight the open goals that we all know that are problematic with Manchester United. In a sentence, Manchester United need to break it all down and rebuild it again. That's your strategic review. Break it all down and build it again. And when I say break it all down, I'm talking about the structure of the board, I'm talking about the structure of recruitment, I'm talking about the structure of the team, I'm talking about the structure of the coaching. It all needs, and I'm talking about Old Trafford. It all needs breaking down and rebuilding. And Old Trafford represents that. But I know that, you know that, Ineos is going to find that out very, very quickly. Do you think Sir Jim Ratcliffe has the authority, money and desire to do that? Because if you break it down and rebuild it again, you've got to be willing to replace your manager. You've got to be willing to sell Rashford, Bruno, anybody. And I always use Rashford and Bruno because they're probably the most symbolic players we have in the team at the moment. You're not going to sell Garnacho, Højlund or Mainu because that's what Man United's all about, youth development. But, if you're genuinely going to change Manchester United for the better, you've got to break it all down and rebuild it. And that doesn't mean you've got to sell Bruno and Rashford and Varane and Casemiro and whoever else you want to put on that list. But it means you've got to be willing to do that. Nothing has to be off the plate, because if you do your strategic review and go, yeah, well, we're going to do strategic review, but we're definitely not selling Rashford, we're definitely not selling Bruno, we're definitely not doing that, you failed. If you're taking things off the table before you've even started, you've failed at this football club. They have to be willing to rip it all down, and I'm not convinced that that will happen. And on top of that, I'm also not convinced that these people know transfers the way I think you do. And what I mean by that is, people have really weird ideas about what Manchester United should be, and we've seen that over recent years. You look at some of the signings Solskjaer made, you look at some of the signings Van Gaal made, you look at some of the signing Moyes made. They have really unique, weird ideas about what Man United is. And what if Ineos and Sir Jim have that as well? So the proof is in the pudding, is what I'm trying to say. I think Rashford seriously needs to go. As supporters, we did not take the incident with you and his people seriously enough. His attack on you represents anyone who criticises him. Player power is too much, says Samir. Mate, I know what you're talking about. I mean, basically, there was a tweet, there was a morning show that Faz did a few months ago where the thumbnail said, or the title said, Rashford future in doubt. And he didn't like it. And at the time we stood by it, and at the time we stand by it now. I mean, it's only the same as the Daily Mail or the Manchester Evening News saying it. And, I think we've got more right than anybody to say it as a fan community. We're willing to have those conversations. I think the fact that a player focuses in on that, and I don't think Rashford tweeted that anyway. I don't think that. But if he is focused on that, then it just shows you that that is a problem at United, because they're focusing in on the wrong things. And the ironic thing is that the question was relevant then, and the question is relevant now. His future is in doubt, because what is his future? What is Bruno's future? What is Casemiro's future? What is Varane's future? What is Maguire's future? All their futures are in doubt because they're not playing well, and we need to change. So, look, players need to focus on themselves. But, look, I would love Marcus Rashford to be the future of Manchester United. I would love Bruno Fernandes to be in the future of Manchester United. But they've got to play better consistently, week in, week out. Goldbridge, that's the end of the clip. I'm sure you enjoyed it. In fact, I bet that's the best clip you've ever watched. So there's no reason not to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you never miss a clip again. In fact, smash a like on the video, because we all know only legends like videos, and you are all legends. So please smash a like on the video, and we will see you again on the next one. Thank you very much for watching, as always.